Yeah, I'm Bjorn Jensen from Dawn of Demise, Temple of Scorn, and Bloodgutter, and you're watching RichardMetalFan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 359 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Bjorn Jensen from Dawn of Demise, Temple of Scorn, and Bloodgutter. So, how are you doing today, Bjorn? It is so great to be able to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad you contacted me. We've been following each other on Facebook and so on for some time. So it's
Yeah, since
nice
the
to
beginning of
actually
time.
hear your voice.
Yeah, and yours too. Too. I also love how we both kind of have this similar setup with the CDs in the back.
We're both metal nerds for life.
Yeah, like how many CDs do you have in your collection?
Behind me, it looks more than it is. I know you have approximately 3,000, a bit more
About
than
31 or 3,200 last I checked. I
that.
have
Yeah,
like a PDF file on my computer that I keep track of everything.
of course, yeah. I heard in the Dave Ingram interview you said 3,100 something. I
Oh
think
yeah.
behind me it looks like a lot now, but it's like between 2,700 and 3,000. And I have in storage, I have a couple of thousand as well.
All right. So you're pretty much like not that far off from me.
No, I have less than you here. But if I went down to the basement and then got a few up, I could beat you in numbers. But then again, I'm 47 years old and I've been collecting since 91. So
Yeah, I mean I'm only 31. I've been collecting since I was 13, so since probably 2007.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
you've done it quickly.
Yeah. But it's great to be able to have you on, man. So, kind of the format of the show is I want to talk about like your musical history and sort of do like a rundown of your discography, but take me back to young Bjorn Jensen. So, growing up in Denmark, what were the first bands that got you into metal and what made you want to slap at a bass?
Ah, actually, I've often tried to remember this, but I can't pinpoint the exact band or the exact year. But my big brother Scott, who sings in Dawn of Demise or growls in Dawn of Demise, he kind of got me into it because I was like 11, 12 years old when I started being interested in metal music, and he was so much older than me. So he actually had money to be able to go out and buy vinyl and so on. But one of the first albums I remember getting was in December of '89. I got Alice Cooper's Trash. And then from there on, it was Guns N' Roses and Def Leppard, and then it was Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and so on, Skid Row, and whatever. And then suddenly it was Slayer and Sepultura. And I remember when I started listening to death metal, that was my brother and I. We discovered it at the same time. He was before me listening to metal, but we discovered it at the same time because we were watching MTV's Headbangers Ball, and they had something called Triple Thrash Treat. And in late summer, or I'm not sure, late '91, Triple Thrash Treat played the video for Lack of Comprehension with Death, and I've been in love with the genre ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so what made you want to pick up the bass?
Uh, Actually, it was the reason why I chose the bass was because I had friends that played the guitar, I had friends that played drums, I had a friend who sang and so on. So they didn't need guys play more guitarists or drummers. So I thought, why the hell not? So I just chose the bass. It's
Nice.
easier than the guitar, so that's also
Yeah, it's like four strings, no
yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what we call bass in Denmark is we call it a fool's guitar because it's so much easier.
Yeah.
It depends on how you play it again, because in some bands it's a difficult instrument, but you can make it easy on yourself. So I'm happy for my choice.
Yeah, yeah. Do you usually play with like the picks or do you use fingers or both?
I started with fingers, and I sometimes practice with fingers, but I use the pick in the three bands you've mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, just be easier to rip the lines.
Yeah, yeah, it's easier to go like instead of it's difficult to
Yeah.
keep the intensity up like that. So,
Yeah, unless you're like Alex Webster or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
Alex Webster, Chris Richards, Steve DiGiorgio, and all of those crazy players. So
yeah.
I look up to them, and they're amazing. But I gave up, so I've
Yeah.
taken the pick instead.
Yeah. Have you ever get like those bass player elitist comments being like, picks are for pussies, man?
Yeah, I've never nobody's ever said it to me, but I've read a lot about it, online, and good fun.
Yeah.
They're kind of right because playing with fingers is more true, but I
Yeah.
gave up.
Yeah. Not, yeah. When people say that, I just say I got two words. Jason Newsted.
Jason Newsted's cool. There's a lot of cool bassists who use a pick. Rex from Pantera, Dave Ellefson, who was in Megadeth, and so on. A
Yeah.
lot of great players.
Yeah. And Tom Araya. Yeah. Glenn
Tom
Benton.
Mariah, yeah.
And a
Player's
bunch of
awesome.
great bands. But
Mhm.
but tell me about like forming Dawn of Demise. Like the band formed in 2003. So
Yeah.
how did you get to start the band?
Actually, Martin, the guitarist in the band, him and I, we were in a band together before Dawn of Demise, and we were tired of not being able to find a singer for that band, and so we had the idea of starting some simple, heavy death metal. Like the simplicity and heaviness of some of the old Cannibal Corpse songs, and the slam parts from Suffocation and Dying Fetus, Internal Bleeding, Pyrexia, and so on. So we wanted to start something like that because we thought if we were able to do that, we'd be able to get a singer, and that singer being my older brother, because he was in a death metal band called Infernal Torment back in the day. And we knew if we did something that sounded good, and we would maybe able to, get him to join the band and so on. But we were in this heavy metal thrash melodic band for quite a while, but we weren't able to find a singer, so we landed with death metal. And I've always been a death metal fiend, so I'm happy that it turned out that way.
Nice. And then kind of flash forward to 2006, you did the first demo and Blood Will Flow. Like, tell me about that. Was that like recorded in Denmark? Mark, like how did that demo come to be?
We actually where we have our band practice. It's like this big building that has several practice rooms and so on, and it also has a small studio. And we recorded the whole thing there. And when we were done recording it, we didn't do any mixing or mastering ourselves. We gave all the raw files to a producer called Jakob Hansen. He's done a lot of bigger bands as well. Um, we gave him the files, and he mixed and mastered, and there you have it.
Nice.
Mm.
Nice. And then of course like when you started playing like around like Denmark and stuff, and then you got signed to, I believe, your first label, Deep Send Records. So how did they find Dawn of Demise?
Uh, whoa. Can I remember this? It was either on MySpace, I'm not sure, but it could be on through MySpace, or it could be me sending out, uh, burnt CDs to different labels. I can't remember. It could be MySpace, but I do remember the Deep Send Records was from Massachusetts,
Nice.
and the guy was called Graham Landers. Good guy.
Nice. And then of course you put out the first Dawn of Demise album, Hate Takes Its Form. I love the album. It's a really great debut album. So what was sort of like the whole like writing and recording process, being it was sort of like the debut full length Dawn of Demise album?
It was just back then. It was once or twice a week in the practice room, and you know one of the guys brought a riff or two. I had a riff, and one of the others had a riff, and we put it together like a band and so on. But we spent a lot of time on that debut album because up to the debut album, you're basically just writing music and working together as a band and trying to improve yourselves and so on. But one of the things that I think works on Hate Six's form is the innocence and the kind of us being confused, not 100% sure what we want to play. So on that album, you can hear thrashy stuff, death metal stuff. You can even hear Miss Sugar like parts, and it's even you can even hear that we like Nevermore in a few riffs and so on. So that we weren't sure exactly what we wanted to play made that album what it is, I think.
Yeah, it definitely has like a kind of like almost like a groove kind of style, kind of like almost reminds you a little bit of like Pyrexia, Dying Fetus, Suffocation and stuff like, and just like the chugging ging is great. Like of course your brother's vocals sound really sick, and of course like the guitars, like your bass playing and everything is just perfect on the album.
That's great. One of the things that makes that album a bit different as well is that we do back then we didn't play, or we still don't, as fast as a lot of other bands do. And the drummer that we had back then, he was more of a hard rock drummer. He was very much into bands like Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, and he also liked like Metallica and Slayer and so on. But he wasn't like a death metal drummer. So that's when you know that, it makes kind of sense because there's a lot of groove and straightforwardness. I know that's not a word, but it kind of makes sense that he's very hard hitting, very groovy, and his drumming on that album made the album also what it is.
Nice. And then when the album came out, what was sort of like the whole like tour cycle like? Did you start just playing like just around like Denmark and Copenhagen and stuff?
Yeah, actually, and that's a lot of people ask us, why haven't we toured a lot abroad and so on. It's because Dawn of the Mice has always been like a hobby band. We've played shows abroad and so on every now and then, when it fits our schedule and so on. But we've always, always just had it like a hobby band. We didn't really go for, we have to make a lot of money and so on. So family life and work and so on, we was very important for us, still is very important for us. But what we did back then with Hate Six Form is, I think we played like Denmark is a very small country. I don't know if you know this, but we are approximately the size of your Massachusetts.
Oh wow.
So it's not very big. So it's like if you play like 6 or 8 shows, you've kind of covered the country
Yeah.
because we're only like 6 million people and it's not very big. So what we did back then was, I think we did like 3 cycles of 8 shows or something. Yeah.
All right. And then kind of going into you did like an EP in 2008, Lacerated. I like that EP. So anytime when like bands do like EPs, I always feel like that's kind of like the appetizer or sort of like the sneak preview for the next thing. So how did that EP come to be?
Actually, the reason I like EPs as well, I've got a ton of them back there and so on.
As do
Um,
I.
yeah, it's the reason why we chose to make to do an EP is that our band back then, we had a guitarist in the band called Jakob. He's actually just joined the band again, but him leaving Dawn of the Mice and going he went into a band called Hatesphere. I don't know if you know about
Yeah, I've
Hatesphere.
actually had Peter on my show a while back
Okay,
because now he's killing it with Dark
he's in Dark
Tranquility.
Tranquility, yeah.
Yeah.
But Jakob left Dawn of the Mice, and then we had a few songs which he co-wrote, and instead of those songs being on an album, 2 years later on, we chose to record those songs, put them on an EP, and then all that had to do with Jakob was, gone, and then we could start fresh again. So that's the reason for the EP. I wish now, because that's 2 of our own songs and 3 cover songs. I
Yeah.
wish we had just done like 4 of our own songs and 1 cover song or something.
Yeah, but I do love those covers you did, like Suffocation, At the Gates, and Obituary. So, what made you decide to like cover those songs in particular?
Yeah. Okay. Um, everybody who knows us in Dawn of the Mice know that we love Suffocation. We love Effigy of the Forgotten and Pierce from Within and Despise the Sun. We
Yeah,
and the rest of their albums, but
yeah, it's
we
all good shit.
yeah, that's perfection. New York death metal perfection. We love that, so it made sense to choosing a song from Effigy of the Forgotten, and Obituary. We just love Cause of Death, and
Yeah,
slowly rewrote those early albums. So choosing Obituary was to show that we love different things, that it isn't just the New York sound and so on. And the reason why we chose that At the Gates song was because the drummer said, "Oh, let's do the At the Gates thing. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it." So we did it. We like At the Gates,
yeah,
but it doesn't really represent Dawn of the
yeah,
Mice
because they're
that
more kind of
well.
melodic death metal, and you're just
Yeah,
like
yeah, more
straightforward brutal
melodic.
stuff.
It's a great album, Slaughter of the Soul, and I like At the Gates and
Yeah,
Rest in Peace, Thomas Lindberg,
yeah,
and so on. But it's not really it. if I could take it back, I would. It sounds good and it's fine, but it doesn't suit us, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it really just depends on the band. Like some bands, like when they do covers, like they try to make it better, if not match up the original.
Mm.
Oh, but I think it's pretty good. Like you add almost kind of like your own little twist, makes it kind of like original in its own way, if you
Yes,
make what I mean.
Scott's vocals are a bit heavier, more guttural, and we put in some, some kick drums here and there. But basically, it's just the same version. So.
Yeah. And then going into the next full-length album, A Force Unstoppable, I like that album because usually with the first album you have your entire life to write and there's a lot of hype with the first album. When it came to making A Force Unstoppable, did you feel like any pressure to follow up Hate Takes Its Form?
Uh, no, not really. But maybe we should have felt some kind of pressure because what we did with that album, and I like a few of the songs and so on. It has one of when we go out and play live, we have to play the song Juggernaut because people the audience likes that song, and that's the last song on Force Unstoppable. But if you ask me, we rushed it too much. The album production wise, it could be better, and there are a few songs on it that could be better. But we just rushed that album. I don't think it's a bad album. I just think here in here in Denmark we have a saying that says "den svære tour." I believe you might have it in English as well, where it's the difficult second one.
Yeah.
That's what you're meaning. The first album, like you said, you spend a lot of time writing it, and then you have to follow up with the second album, and that's difficult. That was difficult for us, but we didn't realize it before we released it because, yeah, I can hear now that it's rushed in compared to the Hate Sixes form.
Yeah, and I know this year does mark 15 years of the album. Like do you ever think about like sort of like doing like a remaster or stir of that album as like a
No,
celebration?
no, no, not really. But it's not a bad idea. Or re-recording of it, not maybe not even a mastering, but a re-recording of it. But if a few years ago, a label called Emancipation put out a Hate Sexes form on vinyl, and they're actually supposed to put out a Force Unstoppable on vinyl as well. I don't know when it's happening, but
Yeah.
yeah,
In
it's
the year
supposed to be
in the
happening
year
soon.
2350.
Yeah, yeah, but it should be happening soon.
Yeah, definitely. I need to get some of your stuff on vinyl. It's funny because like I don't have any of your stuff on CD or vinyl. I mean, I've listened to it on like Spotify and stuff, but I've never had it like actually hold physical stuff.
Okay, send me your address and I'll send you some CDs on the house.
Ooh, dude, fuck yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks,
no
man.
problem.
Man, totally. And then kind of go because the next album, Rejoice in Vengeance, love that album. First album on Unique Leader Records. So how was it like working with them?
Easy, no problems at all. And the guy that had the label before, Eric Lindmark, who was in Deeds of Flesh, he sadly died, and it was him who signed us. And it was actually Graham Landers who had Deep Send Records. He, when he dismantled his label, he actually spoke to Eric Lindmark and said, "Hey, are you interested in this Danish band?" and so on, blah blah blah. So that's how we ended up on Unique Leader. And the talks we had in the beginning with Eric Lindmark, rest in peace, were very productive, and he was so easy to work with, and we haven't had any problems ever since. We cut a deal for 3 albums, and now we've cut another deal for, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 albums more, because they are very likable people and very easy to work with.
Yeah, totally. And one of my favorite songs is, of course, the last song on the album, "The Immaculate Slaughter." You of course, worked with Frank Greene. He used to be in Internal Bleeding. So, how did he end up guesting on that song?
Yeah, that's a fun story because I've been a big fan of Internal Bleeding since '94.
Yeah, wow.
They
As
put
long as
out
I've existed.
they put out an EP slash demo something that was called Perpetual Degradation, and I've been listening to Internal Bleeding all these years, and then through social media, I got to know Chris Pervelis from Internal Bleeding and met him in Denmark a few times. And then I've actually visited him 3 times in New York on Long Island, where he lives. And through getting to know Chris Pervelis, I got a hold of Frank Greeny, asked, "Would you be up for it?" And he said, "Fuck yeah!" So that's the story.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the album itself is really great. Great, especially like you have like the fluctuation between the tempos and then everything. I just think it's really a very interesting and probably in my opinion a very diverse Dawn of Demise album.
Thank you, thank you. I'm especially happy that you like that album because, in a band, in all bands, people contribute so and so much on each album, and that album is actually mostly me. So I'm really glad that you like it. I wrote like 9 or 10 of the songs on that album, so
Nice.
glad you like it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. And then next album is The Suffering. I like that. I think that was right around the time when I first discovered you guys, and ever since then I've been a fan of Dawn of Demise. So tell me about making that album.
What we did on that album, we let me remember. Yes, we had Simon Blobia on the last album, and on The Suffering is we got Bastian in the band, who's our
Yeah.
new drummer. He's been in the
Yeah.
band for like
Yeah.
12 years or
Currently killing
something.
it with soil work too.
Yeah, playing with Soilwork as well. Yeah, exactly. And he joined the band then, and we recorded it here in our hometown and in a studio called Ant Farm with a producer called Tu Messen, who's actually producing our new album as we speak.
Ooh.
And yeah, that was just more of the same thing, but with a different drummer and kind of another producer. Tu did the album before that as well. He also did Rejoice and Vengeance. But it's always getting new guys in the bands. It's always interesting. And also Bastian is quite a bit younger than the rest of us. So this kind of rejuvenation in the band because him being so young and energetic and so on.
You're
So
like,
that's
yeah, let's
cool.
go, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we're just like old and overweight, and he's energetic.
Oh wow.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course your latest album Into the Depths of Veracity came out in 2019. So how has that whole album cycle been?
Yeah, but actually, if you look at that album cycle and you look at us, we're the laziest band of all time. But also, what happened after that album just came out, Bastian got really busy with soil work and so on. So soil work being a very, it's a huge band, right? And so Dawn of the Might had to take a step back, and then we had some, we got a new guitarist and so on. So it was. Like a tumultuous time where we didn't play a lot of shows and so on. But now we've got our old guitarist Jakob back, who who was on our first album and the demo and all that. He's back in the band now. So I talk about this band being rejuvenated by new members. We've definitely that's the same deal again with Jakob being in the band again. So it's Dawn of Demise is good times again.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course you already mentioned you're sort of working on the next Dawn of Demise album. So what was sort of like the whole like what's the status with that if you're allowed to say?
Yeah. I'm allowed to say whatever I want to.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck the government.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in Denmark, not in America. No, with the new album, it's all drums have been recorded, all the guitars and leads and rhythms have been recorded, all the vocals have been recorded, and actually today and tomorrow I'm recording bass, so I'm 7.5 songs into the album.
Oh
So
wow.
after tomorrow, everything will be recorded and then it's ready to be mixed and so on. So
Yeah. Is there like a tentative like release date?
no. We don't know anything yet. What we do is when the whole thing is ready, mixed and mastered and so on, and we have the cover artwork and all the the design with the booklet and the gatefold for the album and so on. When we have that ready and we ship it to a unique leader, they say this date, and we don't know it before they give us that date. So
All right. And then of course switching topics, I want to talk about like one your other bands. First off, I want to talk about Temple of Scorn, like the band formed in 2018. So how did that band come to be and how did you end up getting involved with them?
okay, how did that come to pass? That was Simon, the singer, who's also in a band called Horned Almighty, and he was also in a band called Ex Mortem. Him and I, at some show at a town near me, like 30 miles from here, is the second biggest city in Denmark. We were at some metal show, and 10 beers deep in the discussion with should we start a new band and so on, blah blah blah. And we actually did. Instead of just talking about it, we actually started this band and tried with different members and so on. But very quickly it was Simon, the vocalist, me on the bass, and it was Fleming on the guitar. We've been there since the beginning, and then Sven from bass came in and Shaq as well. But we had like another guitarist first who that didn't pan out, and we had a drummer and that didn't work either. So, but the five that are on the album you've seen is, that's they were almost there at the very beginning, and the plan with that band was to play death metal music that wasn't similar to the other bands we played in. And get it, it doesn't sound black metal like Horned Almighty. It doesn't sound like New York death metal, slamish like Dawn of Demise. It comes out more sounding like some, death metal, doomish, Finnish sound, maybe with some Morbid Angel and so on. But that's the music for that band. Is all the music, all the riffs is written by Fleming, the guitarist, and Fleming is also in a band called the Arcane Order. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know this
Yeah, I've
band.
heard the name.
Yeah, and he also plays in Volbeat.
Volbeat. I
Yeah,
fucking love Volbeat. They're a very catchy band.
yeah. I don't know if he's really a part of the band, but he's played some leads on an album. I think I'm not sure about that, but he's played like I think 30 or 40 shows with them live.
Yeah.
They're out playing now, and Fleming's with them. And then the other guitarist is Sven. He's in a band called Based as well. I
Ba
don't know.
ba
Have you heard of them?
I think so. Baest. I've only
Well,
heard the
it's
name.
yeah, it's not like the English beast. It's the E and the A are turned around.
So it's based.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, based.
Yeah.
Actually, the Danish word for the English, when you say beast, translated into Danish, that would be based. That's our word for beast. So
Nice.
they
But
have a
tell
Danish band name.
Yeah, but tell me about like that first EP that you did with Temple of Scorn, Preliminary Mass. Like tell me about like making that.
That was just, you know, uh, being abandoned and putting songs together in band practice, but again, riffs written by Fleming. And we had a handful of songs, and then we just chose the best ones. And they were actually recorded in our rehearsal space. So very, very low budget. And the guy who mixed and mastered, produced the whole thing is a guy called Quinton, who's actually helped the band out at a few shows where Sven was too busy to join in live. So Quinton, the guy who produced that demo or EP, what you want to call it, he's also helped the band out with playing.
Yeah. And then of course eventually like Temple of Scorn got signed to Transcending Obscurity Records. So how did they find Temple of Scorn?
I, I I don't know. I think maybe it was a good guess would be Simon, the singer, him networking and so on, and then finding a deal because Simon and Fleming from the band are both, very nerdy when it comes to death metal vinyl and black metal vinyl and collecting and so on. So they know all these labels. So I guess I imagine it could be Simon's Contacts or maybe Fleming. I don't know, but it's an Indian label, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah, but I also love that the first album, Funeral Altar Epiphanies. I think that's a really great debut album. Like tell me about that because even like looking at like the album artwork, it's very dark and menacing.
Mm. It's again just Fleming putting together a lot of evil sounding death metal songs, tuned down a lot, and Simon coming up with some nasty, evil lyrics and vocals and so on. And just when we had enough songs, we recorded them and came out sounding like that. And it was the same producer on the demo slash EP that did the album as well. And I'm not even sure who made that cover, but I think it looks good. And what I like about playing in Temple of Scorn is it's so different from my other bands, and they're also just good friends of mine that I don't get to see that often. So that we by having this band together, we get to hang out more often and so on. So that's just all good
Nice,
stuff.
nice. But I also love like the music video for a Burning Palace of Wisdom. Like it just looks like really fucking badass. Like what was sort of like the whole concept making that video?
Again, I'm the wrong person to ask here because I'm guessing again that if you spoke to Simon, the singer, I think that was him, contacting some people that knew how to make these lyric videos and so on, but also him having some ideas of, nasty imagery and so on. To be honest, I'm not sure how that came to be, but because I'm not the evil one in that band. That's the other guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course like the album has now been out since for a little over almost 2 years now. So how has like the reception been?
I've, I've, I haven't heard anything negative. The reviews I've seen have been from mediocre positive to very positive. So very good, and I like the fact that the people or the scenes and so on that have reviewed it, they uh, they get that we don't sound like our other bands. And that's important to me. That there's no need starting another band if it sounds exactly like Dawn of Demise. But I could just write more songs for Dawn of Demise then. But we're going for this more evil, doomy death metal. More evil sounding. So it's a good project to be a part of, but create when we talk about creatively, I'm not that big a part of that band when it comes to imagery or lyrics and so on.
All right. And being as it has been 2 years since the album had been out, have you started work? Is there like any plans to do a second album?
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to put out a second album and hopefully a third album, play more shows and so on. What we're waiting for is Fleming being less busy, but he's out with Volbeat now, and Volbeat's a busy band, so they are touring a lot. And when he gets a break, he'll be writing some songs, and hopefully he's quite efficient when it comes to riff writing. So
Yeah.
hopefully a second album will be realized maybe next year. I hope. I'm not 100% sure. Depends on when Fleming has the time to do it. But we're definitely not split up. And we every once in a while we talk about, oh, when should we do it? And Fleming says, oh, I have a few riffs, but I need more time and so on. So
Right.
there'll definitely be more music from us. But when, I can't. I can't
All
say
right.
anything about.
Okay. And then lastly, but and certainly not least, I want to talk about Bloodgutter. How did you
Mhm.
end up being part of that band?
Actually, that's a fun story because um, I write a lot of the music for Dawn of Demise, and every once in a while I find myself in the studio with the guitar and coming up with ideas. And these ideas, and I know it perfectly well, aren't suitable for Dawn of Demise. But instead of just throwing them away, I would, puts a click track on, starts a session. I'd record my ideas and so on, and I just had them on the computer at our practice space. And one of my friends, who is the drummer in the Bloodgutter now, he actually went in, listened to what I had recorded, and said, "Can I try to put some drums on them?" And he's not a death metal drummer, and I just said, "Yeah, go for it." And he actually did that on 4 songs, and it came out sounding awesome, I think. And then we didn't do anything for like 6 years, and then we started the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's me and NP. He used to be in Nils Peter. He used to be in a band called The Candidate, and an old friend of mine I've known since '91 as well. And he's not a death metal drummer, but he's more of a rock, punk, classic rock, also metal drummer. But we just decided that maybe we have musical differences and so on, but let's find some common ground and make some music together. So that's where that comes from, and that's why it comes out sounding, again, not like Dawn of Demise, because we have that more Swedish guitar sound, and our drummer is a very different kind of drummer. You know, we in this band we don't play after a click track. We record very raw and so on. We recorded the entire album, 11 songs with 2 guitars, bass, and all the drums. We recorded that in 3 days. Everybody in the room at the same time and so on. So
Oh, wow.
it's more of a raw, genuine thing.
Yeah, just kind of make like just no raw, no, raw, just like just really just in your face.
Yeah, just in your face again. It's not because we don't correct a few things and so on, but Dawn of the Mice is very, in boxes and very polished and very produced. Bloodgutter is more like just go with the flow, and if you can hear a few mistakes, that's okay and so on, and make it sound raw and make it sound again not like my other bands. That's important to me.
Nice.
Mm.
Nice. And then tell me about making like Death Mount in the first Bloodgutter album. So what was sort of like the mindset making like the first full-length Bloodgutter album?
The mindset was making, something that we thought was catchy and groovy and like dirty, gritty, and nasty and catchy as well. We wanted to go for, like in Dawn of the Mice, we had this, it's easy to hear that we like bands like Suffocation or early Pyrexia. We like some Dying Fetus and so on. You can hear this in Dawn of the Mice. In Bloodgutter, it's not that we try to copy or emulate other bands, but we are more thinking along the lines of, like Entombed or Obituary or stuff like that, instead of, the New York sound.
Nice.
And then, and also another thing, including a few short grind songs and some punky elements and some doom and some, more classic Black Sabbath riffing and so on. So,
Yeah. And talking about like your bass playing, I know you've heard your fair share of like bass player jokes and memes and stuff, but I feel like you don't gravitate towards flashy bass playing. But I feel like you find ways to link what the guitars are doing with the melody and what the drums are doing with the rhythm. So with the Dawn of Demised or any of the other bands, like what's your approach to like tracking the bass on the albums and stuff?
uh, I'm not a fancy player. I'm not able to be a fancy player, but even if I was, I'm more like I every once in a while I do something a bit different. I'll do something with the drums and so on, or I'll do something more bass player like. But actually, for me, it's more like emphasizing the riff and making the guitars sound thicker and fatter and just more punishing. So I go more. I play more along with the riffs and make sure that my sound on the bass is suited very well to the guitar sound, so the guitar sounds bigger. But every once in a while, I'll do something where it stands out just a little bit, so it's not just guitar bass playing.
Yeah.
If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Totally. And also sort of like in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for either your bands? I know you mentioned you're slowly started working on some new stuff with Dawn of Demise and with Temple of Scorn. It's just anything else you also like to plug in terms of like shows and stuff? Maybe come to the States for some shows.
I would love to come to the States to play some shows. Would love to, but actually, you see now with a lot of festivals and so on, that a lot of these European bands are getting their visas cancelled and so on. So it's kind of difficult right now. So maybe in the future, but we'd love to come. Dawn of Mars, we were in India, for Christ's sake. So we could, if we could go to India, we could go to the US. Would love to play the US. Love to go on some tours with a lot of those bands that we grew up with and so on. Um, uh, we're playing a show in Denmark in a few weeks, Aalborg Metal Festival, which is always good, always sold out, always a good time. But Dawn of Demise, what we're doing now, we're finishing up the album. I'm recording the last 2.5 songs tomorrow in the studio, and then that'll be mixed and mastered, and then we'll see when that'll be released. And Bloodgutter, we are like we have songs for like half an album now. So within 6 months there'll be something there. Temple of Scorn, I don't have any idea because Fleming and Sven are busy. So whenever their schedules fit ours. Um, so not anything really show wise worth talking about, but Dawn of the Mice will be out with something soon because the album's basically done tomorrow. And Temple of Scorn, I guess, will hit the studio within 4 or 5 months. No, not Temple of Scorn, Bloodgutter, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you, Bjorn, for this conversation. It's great to be able to have you on. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Yeah, remember to support death metal music. And Richard, you remember to send me your address so I can send you some CDs.
Dude, fuck yeah, I'll get you after this. But thank you, Bjorn. So everybody, Bjorn Jensen from Dawn of Demise, Temple of Scorn, and Bloodgutter, and we'll see you next time.